naturally fitted in that whole to which both alike are subordinate. Such a state, no doubt, if ever it had been realised in practice, would have been a complete reply to the sceptical argument, for it would have established a justice which was the expression not of the caprice of the governing class, but of the objective will of the whole community. But in practice such a state was not realised in Greece, and the experience of the Greek world does not lead us to suppose that it was capable of realisation. The system of stereotyping classes, in a word of caste, which has played so great a part in the history of the world, does no doubt embody a great truth, that of natural inequality. And this truth, as we saw, was at the bottom of that Greek conception of the state, of which the Republic of Plato is an idealising caricature. But the problem is to make the inequality of nature really correspond to the inequality imposed by institutions. This problem Plato hoped to solve by a strict public control of the marriage relation, so that none should be born into any class who were not naturally fitted to be members of it. But as a matter of fact, the difficulty has never been met, and the system of caste remains open to the reproach that its justice is conventional and arbitrary, not the expression of the objective nature and will of all classes and members of the community. The attempt of Aristotle to construct a state that should be the embodiment of justice is similar to Plato's, so far as the relation of classes is concerned. He too postulates a governing class of soldiers and councillors, and a subject class of productive labourers. When, however, he turns from the ideal to practical politics, and considers merely how to avoid the worst extremes of party antagonism, his solution is the simple and familiar one of the preponderance of the middle class. The same view was dominant both in French and English politics from the year 1830 onwards, and is only now being thrust aside by the democratic ideal. In Greece it was never realised, except as a passing phase in the perpetual flux of polities. And in fine, it may be said that the problem of establishing a state which should be a concrete refutation of the sceptical criticism that justice is merely another name for force, was one that was never solved in ancient Greece. The dissolution of the idea of the state was more a symptom than a cause of its failure in practice to harmonise its warring elements, and Greece, divided into conflicting polities, each of which again was divided within itself, passed on to Macedon, and thence to Rome, that task of reconciling the individual and the class with the whole, about which the political history of the world turns. End of chapter 2, section 11. Recording by Martin Geeson in Haslemere, Surrey.